Okay, so we're back live again on Facebook, on YouTube. Sorry, so we're back live on YouTube. We had to just connect it. It went down, so we're back again. So we're just trying to check it. So help us continue to subscribe to Season 1 on YouTube. We're grateful for your support. Let's have a look.
We've also been to places where there are no dignitaries in all, compared to previous elections. What's your take?
Well, I think the conduct has been quite impressive. When the driver of your studio...
Let me put you on pause, Professor Shola. I understand the INEC chairman. Please hold that thought. Please hold the thought.
So we're back again. Those of you on YouTube, apology for the break in the transmission. It suddenly went down and we weren't aware, but we're back on again. So please do join us back again. Thank you very much for your support. Please continue to subscribe to us and share the broadcast. We're back live again. Subscribe to Season 1 on YouTube. Hit the notification button. Give us a thumbs up. We need to try and reach more and more people. And thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate that. Okay.
Today is election day in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigerians are voting for a president, 109 senators, and 360 members of the House.
It's all a sham. It's all a sham.
From our
Don't fall for the okie doke.
We have been observing the processes nationwide, and we have been receiving reports from our state offices. As Nigerians are aware, the prevailing...
Please share the broadcast. Share. Thank you.
Is a bit challenging, but there is also a sheer determination on the part of the Commission to ensure that the elections hold and that they are free, fair, and credible.
They are neither free nor fair.
As Nigerians are aware, or most Nigerians I should say, this is the first time since 2011 that a general election has not been postponed after it was scheduled. It's part of the Commission's determination to ensure that we continue to do what is right. So we consider it
very questionable for me.
The nation at this point, and we are going to continue to do so throughout the day intermittently until we formally open the collation center tomorrow. So far, so good, generally speaking. Voting is going on nationwide. The bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS, deployed nationwide for the first time, has been functioning optimally in most parts of the country. And we hear actually less and less of complaints about the functionality of the bimodal voter accreditation system than we hear about our other processes.
BVAS is not working in some places, though.
That we have received from the various states of the Federation and our office in the Federal Capital Territory, some challenges were identified, one of which is the inability of the Commission in a number of places to open the polling units
you see,
at the appointed hour of 8:30 a.m.
So 8:30 to 2 p.m. is when you're 2:30 p.m.
But in line with our policy, any Nigerian who is on the queue will have the opportunity to vote, no matter how long it takes. Person on the queue before 2:30 votes, no matter how long it takes.
On that one, on that specific point, I want to show you something. If I may, I want to show you something. In the UK, it's 7 to 10 p.m., 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night in the UK. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night in the UK to vote. They are telling you from 8:30 p.m. a.m. to 2:30 p.m. I mean, that's a recipe for manipulation right there. The people, there are about 83 million people, and you are expecting them to complete and everything else within 6-8 hours. Within 6 hours. That's totally unrealistic for starters. Had it been that you could trust allow the beavers and everything to function without any interference, then you could make room for that. But even then, you would still need more. You should allow people to vote. This is. But anyway, I'm just putting that out there.
The reasons why we couldn't open the polling units on time. 2023, we have conquered the challenge of getting election materials to various locations. Yes, there may be complaints here and there, but generally speaking, we have delivered, and voting in that location is ongoing as we speak. Similarly, in Oshimili local government area of Delta State, thugs attacked a polling unit, and two men determined that election must continue.
Yeah.
Were able to replace.
Exactly, yes. Rivers State governor did not vote. He's not been able to vote so far.
And voting continued in that location.
Welcome back, Kingsley. I appreciate you on YouTube. Please continue to help us share the broadcast. We appreciate you all. Subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube, the platform where we speak truth to power. So let's go ahead.
And snatched 6 beavers machines.
You see.
But again, we're able to recover and use the spare beavers machines and reinforce security for voting to continue in that location. Happily, the security agencies have recovered 3 of the beavers machines, but 3 are still held by the thugs. So in these locations, the target of attack was actually the beavers machines. No longer our ballot papers or ballot boxes is the beavers machines. But in the 2 instances, we're able to recover and continue with the process. But there are also other complaints we had from some political parties about the shortage of polling agents' tags, the identity tags. Nigerians may recall that for the first time, we designed a portal and encouraged all political parties, as required by law, to nominate their polling agents. They never interacted with INEC face to face. And we harvested over 1.5 million nominations from political parties.
You see, people are saying that their agents are nowhere to be found. They are all talking about they're doing something. It's all a game. It's all a game.
At ward level, local government level, and the states, and 27 coalition agents for the national coalition as nominated by the 18 political parties. And we printed those cards and delivered them in the main to the states, where they were collected by the state chairmen of political parties. But not all the parties nominated agents for all the polling units. So we did what we are supposed to do. And if there are issues, then definitely these issues will not be from the commission. But we also realized, and that is why we created the portal, that parties would like to issue agents their own tags bearing only the logos of the party and the word agent written across. In this case, anybody can claim to be the agent of any political party at any level, resulting in some instances commotion during collation where 2 or more agents will claim to represent a political party. And that's why we created the portal where they uploaded the names of the agents and the description of where they are going to serve as agents, as well as their photographs. And these cards were laminated and delivered to the states. One of the parties drew my attention to a letter. They said in one of the states, they were given a letter by INEC in the absence of the accreditation tag. But our officials at the polling unit level did not recognize those agents because they were not bearing the INEC accredited cards. I requested that gentleman to share a copy of that letter with me. He shared a copy of that letter, and it was clearly issued by his party, not by INEC. And when I drew his attention to it, he immediately deleted the message. So this is the clarification on the issue of agents. And I would still like to advise political parties that as we go into the concluding phase of this election, particularly when we go into
it's 1:30,
results,
1 hour from now,
the Commission will insist that only INEC accredited collation agents will be admitted into the collation centers. Finally, there was an issue raised by some of the political parties, particularly at the polling unit level this morning. They said that in some instances, the logos of the political parties were on the ballot papers, but the acronyms of the political parties were not on the result sheets. I need to provide this important clarification. The process of producing the result sheets is more complicated than the production of the ballot paper.
We don't hear.
For result sheets,
On that wuru too much. On that wuru too much.
specific.
On that wuru is too much.
And there
It's
is
too much. On that here.
customized
On that
copies.
wuru is too
The
much.
Commission will retain the top copies, the first 2 top copies, and then give each polling agent at polling unit level a copy, and 1 copy goes to the police. The process of producing the result sheet is a lot more complicated than the production of the ballot papers. So what we did on the result sheets was to provide 2 additional blank rows. And the purpose of these 2 additional blank rows is to accommodate any political party that we may be compelled to accommodate on the ballot paper by 11th hour judicial pronouncement. So those 2 additional rows are supposed to take care of that eventuality. So where you have a party on the ballot, but the logo is not on any of the result sheets, this can actually be added to the result sheets, for which rows have been provided accordingly. And the presiding officers and the collation agents are authorized to accept and certify and stamp the insertion
You see now?
of political parties.
As I'm looking at this live right now, somebody is writing that there are thugs disrupting voting in many places. Where are the security personnel? They won't show up for that too.
And Imo states. In Abia, deployment is taking place late to the polling units. The Commission is aware, but we are assuring voters in Abia State that no matter how late we deploy to the polling units, if voters are on the queue before 2:30, they will vote no matter how long it takes. So we are aware of the situation in Abia State. We are also aware of the situation in Imo State.
Please share. You're watching Season where the platform where we speak truth to power in conjunction with Oduduwa TV Radio. The broadcast will be in a mixture of Yoruba and English and some Pidgin. Please do share. We need to wake our people up this injustice is going on long enough.
Areas. In the whole of Osu, we had issues in all the 11 wards. In the case of Olu, it's 6 wards out of 11. In the case of Okigwe, it's 5 wards out of 11. And in the case of Oguta, it's more widespread. I had a discussion with the Inspector General of Police this morning, as well as the military. And our officials have been escorted
The military.
to all the 4 locations. I take it that voting would have commenced in some of these difficult places. But if it doesn't, then I want to assure voters in those locations that election will hold and they will not be disenfranchised. We are going to be making this briefing to Nigerians intermittent throughout the day. So we'll go and review the situation further. I hope in the next, what's the time now, Festus? Almost 1:30. Should we say 4:30? 4:30 will be here to provide Nigerians further updates. But this briefing is also supposed to be interactive. Yes, we may be journalists, but we are above all Nigerians. There are things you might have heard, things that we might have seen, reports that you might have read, that you wish to draw our attention to.
We've got the phone line open, but let's just see. Maybe after the talks, we can actually. We've got the phone line is open. If you want to call in, you can call in on +44 799 582 606. Let's hear your thoughts on what's going on and what's the way forward for those of us who are going for self-determination. What further things can we do to awaken our people? So let's do call in, please. After he finishes.
So if there are 1 or 2 questions or observations or suggestions, I would like to listen to them and respond to the questions before we go back to the situation room. Thank you very much.
Please, if you have any question, quickly indicate. By raising up your hand, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Chinaza Samuel. I report for Arise Television. Sir, my question is regarding polling units, especially the ones that were reassigned. We've received reports that some persons are having a hard time locating their polling units. I want to know what the Commission is doing to address it, especially because, Chairman, sir, yesterday you assured Nigerians that no one will be disenfranchised. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman. My name is Ayo Ogundimu of NTA. You have acknowledged that polling distribution of materials arrived late in some polling units. And that is not a fault of the electorate. And their time has been taken off. Are you considering extending the time beyond 2:30? And secondly, we just got a report that Boko Haram terrorists launched an attack in Goza in Borno State, and some of your personnel were injured, including the electorate. Have you received any information and any action has been taken? And secondly, one of the vice presidential candidates and a governor of a state went to their polling unit in Borno State. As of 11 o'clock, your men were not on ground. So are you taking action regarding some of these issues? And A5 Estate at Apo, as of 11:30, no materials. Same thing in Federal Housing Estates in Lube. Can you please respond to some of them or all? Thank you.
Okay, I crave your indulgence to respond to these issues quickly so that we go back to our situation room. The next briefing will be at 4:30. So let me start with Arise TV, the difficulty locating polling units. That is why before the election, we embarked on a campaign encouraging citizens to identify their polling units. We have 6.7 million citizens in that respect, and quite a number of them have done so. I actually expected that the complaints that we are going to receive from people who could not locate their polling units will be louder than that. We tried to solve a 25-year-old problem in the history of Nigeria by expanding voter access to polling units, which we successfully did in 2021. Before then, the delimitation of polling units was the one done by the old NECON, not INEC, in 1996. Doing so means redistributing some voters to polling units. The law empowers the Commission to create polling units and to allot voters to them. There is population increase, movement of people up and down the country, and so we did so. But what we did in the main was to redistribute voters from congested polling units in proximate or same location. In other words, voters were not in the main taken out of the locations where they have voted consistently since 1999. So what did we do? We published the entire list of the redistributed voters and shared with our state offices.
All this now grammar. The people cannot vote. All this now grammar. There's all excuses.
Sent bulk text messages to the affected Nigerians. We encourage our state offices to engage in publicity in the local languages. And then we came up with two simple ways by which citizens...
Please continue to subscribe to Citizen on YouTube, the platform where we speak truth to power,
one of which
and also, of course, of the Duarte Radio too. Thank you.
But the other one, which is simpler, is we provided 2 telephone numbers to which you can send a simple text message indicating your state, your surname, and the last 6 digits of your voter identification number. And you will receive a message telling you that this is your polling unit. We appreciate that not all Nigerians have smartphones or access to the internet. And that's where when we send the list to the states, we ask them to engage with those voters that we may have redistributed to some of the polling units and also engage in publicity in the local language. So these are some of the steps that we took. In fact, very interestingly, a friend of mine was very angry. We moved the person from one polling unit in Abuja to another polling unit. And he sent me a message to say that the commission has no powers under the law to do so. After all, how can you move me to a polling unit without my consent? Well, I quoted the section of the law. And I called him. I said, why are you so angry? He said, no, I'm not angry. I said, please read the message carefully. We said you have been moved from a congested to a more convenient polling unit in the same premises. So in other words, you even don't have to walk long distance. Then he looked at the message and said, sorry, actually, I didn't read the message. I thought you moved me to another town. So,
yeah, all our semantics. We're not interested in that. The system is flawed.
Messages. So if there are Nigerians who are unfortunately still unable to locate their polling units, I apologize on behalf of the commission, but voting has not ended. You can still send text message to the numbers that we have provided. They are on our social media platforms. They are also on the hard copies of the information we shared here early this week on the number of PVCs collected. And you in the media can help us before voting ends for people to know how they can locate their polling units and to vote on election day. Our intention was never to disenfranchise Nigerians.
What you are doing disenfranchising. You are.
Nigerians to vote easily. Unfortunately, some of the polling units are still congested because when we contacted some Nigerians, they preferred to be left in the congested polling units, some for security considerations. that we feel more secure where we have been voting, even if the units are congested, than taking us to a less populated polling unit, which may be some distance away from our comfort zones. So these are the steps that we have taken.
I'm going to be mute for a while. Let's listen on. I'm just going to do one or two things. I'll be mute. I'll be back shortly. I'll be mute for a while.
I have answered your question partially in my opening statement. I said that no Nigerian will be disenfranchised. Yes, we opened the polling units late, and we admitted that in some cases the polling units were opened late. But the system has an automatic mechanism for recovering lost time. We don't start 8:30 and close 2:30 on the dot. If we start later than 8:30, whoever is on the queue before 2:30 will vote, no matter how long it takes. So no Nigerian will be disenfranchised on that score, provided that person is at the polling unit before 2:30. You talked about one of the vice presidential candidates unable to vote in Maiduguri Metropolitan Council. We are following and tracking the challenges we have in two locations in Borno State, the Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and Jere. So we are tracking that. Voting hasn't ended. We are sure we'll overcome whatever challenges, and every Nigerian will have the opportunity to vote. Then finally, you talked about the attack on some of our officials in Goza. We are tracking that one as well. There are some, should I say, bandits or some insurgents that were firing from the mountaintop in Goza, just firing at random. That was what we were tracking before we had to come to brief you. So we'll continue to track. At 4:30, we should be in a position to give further update on that. I thank you very much. The work continues. See you at 4:30.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Please, we all gather again here at 4:30 for the next round of update from the Commission. Thank you.
Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the briefing there at the National Collation Center at the ICC in Abuja. He spoke about a number of things. A few of them were some of the issues being experienced earlier today in some of the polling units across the country. He talked about the functioning of the BVAS, which he referred to as optimal, said that voting was going on nationwide. He spoke about a few reports that had come in from some states, some of the challenges which included the late opening of the polling units, some logistic problems. He also spoke about a few of the perennial delays which was experienced, security issues in areas like Shiroro local government area, and also another place in Delta, Oshimili, where he said to be BVAS were lost, but then spare machines were used in those areas, and a few of them have already kick-started voting. He also talked about the issue of political parties and identification, where he spoke on a portal that was created for agents and the description, to their tasks to sort of simplify that, because I believe he mentioned some of the nominations for political parties was around 5 million. And then he spoke to
Talking about the polling agents.
Yes, polling agents.
Because there are so many contestants. National Assembly elections, State Assembly elections, governorship elections. I think that's the collage of all of those agents.
Indeed. But then, the portal sort of simplifies who is an agent, who is what. But then he did say that only INEC accredited, agents will be admitted to the collation centers. He also spoke on the unfolding situation in Abia specifically, and also Imo State. But then I think there he clarified aside what was happening in Imo, talking about Olu, Osu, Oguta, Okigwe, saying that, you know, voters who are on the queue before 2:30 will definitely be allowed to vote, which, you know, reminds me of the questions that was asked if there will be an extension by one of the journalists beyond the 2:30 p.m. time.
It was a question we also raised here this morning.
Incidentally, yeah.
Incidentally,
we
so
talked
See,
about that too. That
this is
would
what we're
have gone
saying.
beyond
For
all
60
of this.
or 87 million voters
I don't,
to only be voting
I don't envy him
to
at all.
8:30 to
This is
you said
this is
when he was
2:30
talking, you
is
said you don't envy
unrealistic.
that job.
no, I don't.
You don't even know
And
who
I mean, it just
anyone would
shows
want
that
to take that
they
It's
job.
have
not an
other
easy. It's not an easy
agenda.
thing to
But anyway,
do.
let's
I
carry
mean,
on watch.
he also spoke, incident about what Millicent was talking about. He also talked about the attack in Goza. On INEC staff and some members of the electorate. He said, you know, that they were firing indiscriminately from a mountaintop. Whoever it was firing from there, and that led to the situation in Goza. And of course, there was the situation you mentioned in Niger. There's a lot. I understand why we're taking all of this. I'm going to ask our guests their opinions of the, shall we say, halfway vote a scorecard that the INEC chairman has just delivered. But just before we do that, I understand that we have yet another prominent voter, shall we say. I'm not seeing it yet. Okay, there we have. This is the
Vice
presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dati Baba Ahmed. Here he is. Perhaps we can listen in. I believe he's exercised his franchise here at this point, and would like to know what he thinks.
As long as the elections are adjudged to be free, fair, and just. So keep that in mind. However, even to the contrary of that, we have never been the kind of people that will incite anything besides peace. But we also insist firmly on justice being done. If you think deeply, like some people often do, the withdrawal of cash from the system just before election is more or less a statement on the entire Nigerian society that if the government does not withdraw cash, you're likely to sell your votes. That is most unfortunate. And let us see an election that took place without cash. Let us compare it to those that held with cash. If it is a simple matter of traveling around, people have always been able to travel around with or without that level of cash that you have seen.
Well, we also have the governor of Ogun State also performing his civic duty right there in Ogun State. Location, I don't know what his own experience is. I guess we'll be able to hear that as well somewhere in.
Yeah, he was standing. He's standing. He's joining. He's on a queue here. Oh. He's joined the queue here. And we didn't see, we are not seeing some of the less than totally organized situations that we saw earlier on. With some,
but I think with the dignitaries, you have a lot of people, you know.
Yes, going along with them, waiting for them, and wanting to follow them to and fro. In spite of the fact that this is against all the regulations that we have spent time repeating over and over and over again. But this is Prince Takwa Abiodun. I wonder if he said anything.
I just exercised my franchise in full public clear. And I believe that the exercise itself, from all that I have been told so far, appears to be going well enough. There were a few hitches early this morning, which centered around the issue of agent identification tax. I am told that INEC did not provide enough cards for agents to identify themselves as they presented themselves to the various governments. I'm yet to confirm what caused that.
has complained that he was shot quite a few major points. But I believe that some arrangement has been worked out. Voting has started. The voter turnout here is impressive, which is very exciting. And everything seems to be going on live.
Thanks for staying tuned there, Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, giving his impressions about this voting exercise following his successful attempt to
Recall that Dapo Abiodun was
exercise his
heckled by the
franchise.
people,
Now, let's
and they
go
called him
to
Wole. He's one of them.
Olu Phillips,
So
our
the
correspondent,
system is
who
rigged
is
anyway.
somewhere in Lagos, in the suburb, I believe, of Okota. Olu, you've been traversing that area for much of the day. What can you tell us? What's the status report at this point? Olu, we're unable to hear you. I wonder if you're muted. Perhaps you could unmute yourself.
I wonder, please leave your
All right.
comments on the page and we'll
While
try and read
Olu
through it as we're
do
going
his
along
thing
as to how
in
you see
Okota, let's
this
cross
and
over to
leave suggestions as well.
Olamide Yusuf, who's in
We
another
will
part of
go through,
Lagos.
we'll give you
Good
the
afternoon
option
to
to
you,
be able to
Mary.
call
What can you tell us?
in due course as well. But leave your comments, we appreciate that.
And voting peacefully. They were off to a slow start as accreditation did not start in time. Nevertheless, they have formed neat lines, the young and even the very old. We even spied someone on crutches who is determined to cast his vote. The police presence, which we have become used to seeing as we've gone from polling unit to polling unit, is here and getting more, increasing. But for now, the process is peaceful.
All right, then. Thank you, Mary, reporting there from Ekpe, outside of Lagos Central. Lady and gentlemen, we were talking about the scorecard. All these are parts of the scorecard. But the ANEC chairman, the man in the hot seat, has been briefing, and I want to find out what our guests think of what he's said. First, let me start with the group captain who's joining us via Zoom from Kaduna. Okay, I understand he's gone to actually go vote. So
hoping that the beavers
are now working and that he's able
that's good news.
exercise his franchise. Let me come to you, Prof. What did you make of what the ANEC chairman said? I mean, broadly speaking.
I think, in all summary, he has displayed a good sense of leadership, a good sense of control of the organization that he leads. He appears very honest to me. He identified problems where there are. He acknowledged problems where he found some. And he sounds so promising to the extent that he will...
Oh, now smoke screen. Oh, now smoke screen.
About being prevented, in spite of all the hiccups, from performing their civic responsibilities. That is not to say it is all uhuru, but then in life, whatever it is, if you have an A in an exam, it's 70% or 72 after all. There must be some rooms for improvement. And the good thing about it is that he has promised us that that address will not be one-off. Right. Intermittently, he will be coming back to give us briefings, perhaps getting data of problems to solve, addressing them, feeding up back on how far he has gone.
Solving them.
And then what's important is that we are carried along. I think it's a good sense of respect for citizens of this country. It's a good development.
Indeed, indeed. Honorable Idahosa, you are in Abuja, not too far from where the INEC chairman was doing his briefing. Perhaps you could also give us a sense of your view, particularly about what he said about the engagement process, the areas where citizens can report, what kind of problems they're having and so on. That's very important, what he said about that. So instead of going onto social media to scream, you can actually let those who can do something about it know in the time that is left to do something about it. That's on one hand. And the issue of the party agents, because now we are getting to the point where voting will conclude and then we are going to start collation. And that the issue with identifying who is a legitimate party agent who can witness collation. Those 2 points.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to say that with the developments in terms of citizens' complaint and the response mechanism put in place by the Commission, we seem to have witnessed very huge modernization of the electoral process. And this is very commendable. Not only has the Commission deployed what has now been adjudged as a very fast technology in terms of accreditation, but it is also providing a modern method of reporting complaints and engaging citizens over a critical civic responsibility. And we want to commend the Commission for this. The other point is whether or not parties complain about agents and so on is also likely to be traced to whether or not the parties delivered on the platform set up, and the Commission gave the parties the responsibility to enter into the portal together with 2 passport photographs to enable the Commission prepare an identification which qualifies the agent to be the one to sign all electoral forms, including result declaration forms, and being present at collation centers. So for those parties that have complied, I believe and expect that the Commission has also done the needful. Now, if there is any the confusion with respect to these, I still think that there is opportunity to rectify that, because the Commission has offices in 36 states of the Federation, including Abuja. And in addition, they also have offices in all the local government headquarters, except where there has been tremendous insecurity or where the such office has been shut down. So I think it's an issue that can be quickly redressed as long as the name of the agent is on the official portal of the INEC. I don't see a big deal in that matter.
But sometimes, one of the questions a number of people might be wondering is whether or not the political parties themselves were significantly ready for this whole process. I mean, what would you make of, what are the chances? In fact, one of the questions I wanted to ask you earlier, yes, my own question came back. I wanted to ask you earlier was, in terms of not just readiness, but the entire process, what are the challenges that you think might crop up on this day, which INEC may or may not be aware of, but party agents and all, the citizens themselves, the INEC officials on site, that Nigerians should be aware of and get ahead of before it happens?
Honorable Idahosa, that's for you. I don't know if you caught the question.
Got part of it, but I didn't get the last element of it.
Okay, well, the question I was asking was, what are some of the challenges that you think we should get ahead of? Yes, elections have started. In some places, some people have voted and gone back home. For the voters, for polling agents, for the citizens, to the electorates, what are some of the issues that might crop up that we may or may not be aware of now and get ahead of?
Well, the first problem there has been addressed by the Commission. The question of security of beavers. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, please go on. Go on, please.
Okay. The question of security of beavers, I think INEC's response has been excellent. Very wonderful reaction to have a spare duplicates of such machines ready to go on wherever they have been stolen. So you can see that the political system has still not been able to prepare itself for a smooth election. You see people still willing to steal equipments just to frustrate the electoral system wherever they think that they are not strong enough. But INEC's response has been apt and extremely on point in the circumstances. That's why. The other question will be, how prepared are they in terms of making arrangement with the security community to prevent the attempts to destroy critical documents, such as the Form EC8 series and the Form 40 series of INEC. That's another area where some elements still don't believe that there is a need to respect the sanctity of elections and still go to try to attack voting centers to destroy those results in the hope that the outcome of those results are not recorded for one reason or the other. Then the third element will be the question of party agents. How ready are the political parties themselves to ensure that the agents that they send there are credible enough, educated enough, enlightened enough to support the electoral process and not just to be there to make noise, distort information, and manipulate the situation, either for want of inefficiency or in an attempt to frustrate a system where their parties seem to be lagging behind. I think these are quick elements that often will accompany the electoral system, and I'm happy that INEC has dealt with the most important one, beavers, because beavers seem to have, the machine itself seems to have turned out to be primary evidence of the result of accreditation.
Honorable
and that's
Dahosa,
key in determining whether there has been overvoting or whether there has been a cancellation of certain votes and the number of votes that have also been spoiled. This key information can all be retrieved from the number of accredited voters. So it's a key machine. It must be held and protected with all the energy that security agents can muster.
Indeed. It's also interesting to note that the INEC chairman did also say that it appeared the beavers machines were the target in some of those places where security appeared to be a challenge. But we are still taking a lot of your thoughts, your reports on what's happening in your area as you vote today. Let's quickly go over to Okota, I believe, where our correspondent Olu Phillips has the latest.
Hi, Millicent. This is what it is. I mean, we've been traversing this area between Okota, Isolo, and Muo, Festac, Ajara State, and something seemed to be a common denominator. Most of the INEC officials didn't arrive on time, most of them around 10, all of them around 11 a.m., and casting a lot of doubts on the hearts of the people as to when they will have to do the accreditation, and now dovetail into voting, which should end officially by 2:30, except there's an extension which INEC official, or which INEC chairman can grant. I mean, one of the words around 1013, around Ali Dada area, and some of the people I spoke to earlier had the same complaint, and I'd just like to speak to one of them to tell us the experience she had when she came in. So can you tell us what was it when you actually came in? And you can see that up till now, we don't have enough people who have voted. Tell us, and you got to be audible a little.
I hope everybody's having a free and fair election, first of all. There is something pasted there. I got here as at 9, and when I got here as at 9, they were probably still setting up, only for me to hear that they did not have ink. So they had to go and get ink. And mind you, they have BRVs. You know, they had 2 BRVs. One have, like, I think 750 names, the other has the same amount of names. And if your name is not in this, it's not in the other one. There was a pregnant woman here who had to wait for a long time, and they're being a little bit rude. Like, this is our rights. We're supposed to exercise this right. You talk to us kindly, because everybody wants a better